Welcome back to another reaction to the new campaign trail. This time, I think I'm going to take a look at the 2020 election and see if I can get Donald Trump to defeat Joe Biden. And if you notice, I've changed the theme up here to Jeb. So let's see if I can reverse history and get Donald Trump elected to a second term. I'm going to see if maybe basically running the most right-wing campaign that I can think of. Um, Yeah, I'll stick with Mike Pence. Yeah, we'll continue with the usual settings. What will you say to the American people as you accept your party's nomination for president? The crooked media is in the tank for Joe Biden and his son Hunter, and they are doing everything they can to make my team, to my term, one of the most successful ever, or like a disaster. Don't fall for it. Uh, Lord knows you've gone on the aggrieved attack mode plenty of times over the past 4 years. We have to get you over the hump for a second term. Let's see. Which of these themes will you emphasize as the most important as you campaign for president this year? Joe Biden is a joke, really. He's 78 years old, sits in his basement all day, probably has dementia and many other issues. Is he the person who will stand up for you and America? Okay. Um, no, no, wait. All right, so oh boy. Biden is ahead in Texas. Biden, Arizona's tied. I'm barely ahead in Georgia. North Carolina, I'm ahead in North Carolina. I'm ahead in Ohio. Biden's ahead in Pennsylvania. Upper Midwest looking like a disaster right now. And so, hmm, let's see. I'm kind of wondering how I can run this election into the ground, but I think I'm curious to know, like maybe if I run a campaign that's like characteristically Trump, I don't know. Let's see. You've chosen to visit Ohio. Is this correct? Let's experiment here. Joe Biden has been meeting with Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and other such politicians in an attempt to unite the Democratic Party. Do you plan to highlight these events in your speeches? We really can't say it enough. The Democrats want to implement radical socialism in this country. What more proof do you need that incidents like this one? Let's see. Oh, uh, as the leader of this country, do you plan to wear a mask as you appear at various campaign events and official functions? There's absolutely no evidence that masks do anything to stop coronavirus. Even Dr. Fauci said so. He changed his mind because he hates me, by the way. But he was clearly saying masks do not help against coronavirus. Look it up. Um, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Biden landslide incoming. Still, there's still a while to go. Let's visit Missouri. How much of an issue do you plan to make out of the Democrats' attempt to impeach you, which began in 2019? Hunter's payments were an attempt to bribe Joe Biden. End of story. All we wanted to do was look into it, and we had this impeachment nonsense. If this doesn't show how crooked the Democrats are, I don't know what does. Um, yeah, that An outbreak of COVID-19 has led to a wave of stay-at-home orders and business closures. How will you address this issue as president? Kung flu is nothing but a criminal attempt by China, an act of war almost, if you think about it, to plunge the globe into chaos and undermine our election in favor of Joe Biden. Let's not forget which one of us is a stooge to China. Yeah, this is yeah. Let's see. Where else should I go? Let's try North Carolina. Let's not try too hard to lose. What are your thoughts on the death of George Floyd and the wave of protests in the wake of his death? What will you say to the nation? I mean, this was a pretty typical arrest, really. We don't have any idea why George Floyd died. Maybe it was the drugs. Who knows? Then you have the media fomenting riots and using to get China Joe elected this fall. Yep. It's certainly been a raucous couple of weeks, and you're doing your part to keep it that way. Are you considering policies such as a national lockdown or a mask mandate to control COVID-19? Conversely, do you plan to speak out against these ideas? The Socialist Democratic Party is pushing for lockdowns at every opportunity. They will stop at nothing to exert their control over patriotic, hardworking American citizens and businesses. Not on my watch. Um, wow. Hmm. Where should I go next? Let's go to Iowa. There were some rumors that you might replace Mike Pence as your running mate this year. What made you decide to keep him on board? This is another fake news story that's basically a lie. The media is trying to stir up drama between us, but Mike has been great. To what extent do you support emergency economic legislation to address the effects of COVID-19 on society? If you look at what's happening right now with Dirty Nancy, it's a disgrace. Uh, we have a second package all ready to go. She's blocking it until the election to make me look bad. They're putting dirty politics over helping Americans. I'm trying to. Um, wow. Yeah, this is. Yeah, I am not doing myself any favors here, but let's go to Georgia. There has been an increase in Asian American hate crimes in 2020, along with the rise of COVID and some of your inflammatory statements, such as Kung flu. What do you have to say on this topic? A lot of these attacks. So let's. It's funny how a lot of these supposed hate crimes are taking place in New York and San Francisco. I'm sure they're very inspired by me. Um, do you have anything to say about some of the stories that have circulated about your opponent's son, Hunter Biden? It's incredible that Hunter Biden isn't in jail right now when you get down to it. Some Ukrainian oligarch is giving him $1 million to do absolutely nothing. Sleepy Joe is on it too. Where is the FBI? Okay. All right. I should probably go to Texas at this point. So I mean, Texas center right on most things, but they're conservative on economics and foreign policy, center right overall on healthcare and social issues. Is that really true? I don't know. How close are we to having an effective vaccine for COVID-19, and what can you tell the American people about its safety? Um, it's going to happen when it happens. I'm hoping by the end of the year. And shortly thereafter, we can finally put an end to the destructive liberal lockdowns that have done so much to damage our country. That's, I feel like, an answer that Donald Trump would give. With the tragic passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you have the opportunity to nominate a new Supreme Court justice. Who will you choose? I'm like Amy Coney Barrett. She's a staunch conservative, a true Catholic thinker, and a widely praised across the conservative spectrum. Yeah, this is a very popular pick among religious conservatives. Um, so things have kind of, I don't know. Arizona's slipping away, so we should probably look it up here. Many Democrats are calling for an expansion to the Supreme Court to counteract some of your controversial appointments. Will you be adding your voice to this debate? What do you want me to say? That I'd be happy if Sleepy Joe nominated four leftist judges to the Supreme Court in some harebrained court packing scheme? I'm sure if he does that, we'll be more than happy to retaliate with the voters, put us back in charge. Oh. um, Recent articles have discussed you paying no federal income taxes in some previous years or having a secret Chinese bank account. What is your response? I don't know how they come up with these stories, but I can assure you they are all lies. You can believe there will be some libel suits coming. Let's see. Yeah, I did myself no favors with that trip to Arizona. Um, let's see. Ohio is center right on most issues, but is moderate on economics. Florida is center right on most issues, but is conservative on foreign policy, moderate on social issues. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, states have honestly, I mean, every election obviously emphasizes different issues. Excuse me. New Hampshire is really kind of a lost cause, as you can see here. I'm really not, I'm really out of step with them on a lot, but you know, why don't we let's go to Montana, considering that's interesting. They're moderate on social issues, conservative on everything else. But are you open to attending the customary three debates with your opponent, Mr. Biden? The thing about this is that it kind of doesn't accurately portray sort of how Donald Trump would answer this question. He is not a typical politician, and he's sort of erratic when he speaks, and sort of these answers are very are too coherent for something for Donald Trump to really be able to say. So it's kind of hard here. Yeah, see, these two answers are exactly the same. Um, Year after year, Republicans subject themselves to sham debates with slanted questions and one sided moderates. Why should we force the voters to watch that charade again? Um, yeah, probably did make a mistake, honestly. You have repeatedly dodged the question when asked whether you will accept the results of this year's election. Do you have any statements to make? Um, we know that there's an unbelievable amount of election fraud going on right now, and Democrats are making it even worse in 2020. Of course, they want me to just lay back and take it. Yep, I am. That is very. That's probably true. I am down in pretty much every state that I can possibly be down in. Okay, let's go to Ohio. You have caught COVID-19 and require hospitalization, but it fortunately appears you will recover. How you act in the wake of this episode? Sleepy Joe couldn't get 100 people to show up to his rallies if he tried. So he's trying to use COVID as an excuse. It almost makes you wonder if anyone's even voting for him. Yeah, you're certainly not the type to second guess yourself. There's no sense in changing that now. Um, your immigration policies have antagonized opponents and pleased your core supporters, but your signature wall remains unfinished. What do you plan to do next? We've already built most of the wall during my term, actually. The failing New York Times barely talks about it. I'm pretty sure that I feel pretty good that the wall will be there for a long time to come. Um, yeah, yeah. This election is now a lost cause. But this is really how I feel like Trump would campaign. I'm just curious to know how exactly this is going to end. Um, let's go to Pennsylvania. Do you have do you have any statements to make in regard to gun control or the right to bear arms? Um, you've seen what's going on out there: riots, fires, disrespect for police. We need to do everything we can to allow law-abiding citizens to defend themselves at home and in public. Yep. Not all of Trump's instincts would make him give bad answers. Like that might be a good answer to the question we just had. Your plans for a federal infrastructure bill stalled over the past couple of years. Do you plan to pursue this again if reelected? How large should any package be? We've built a lot of infrastructure already. One of the things the media never talks about is the wall. We've built hundreds of miles of beautiful wall on the border, and I'm not sure we need another big bill right now. Nothing seems to be more of a litmus test for how people feel about you than the wall. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is let's see. We should probably salvage things in Florida. Yeah. What is your rationale for the recent truce in Afghanistan? Do you plan to pull out all American troops before the election? A strategy in Afghanistan under Barack Obama was a total disaster with the surge. All I'm saying is we need to stop wasting our time and get our troops out. And I'd like to see that happen by the end of my term. Yeah. The New York Post has broken a story about a laptop that Hunter Biden purportedly lost. This is my kind of question. Do you have any comment? Um, they talk about October surprises. This is one of the biggest ones ever. And people are trying to post the story on, and Facebook won't even let them post it. If that's not an assault on democracy, what is? Yeah, let's see what kind of effect the story has on the final days of the campaign. Um, this is basically over at this point. Yeah, Alaska's even looking tight. Yeah, I'm really curious to know how because I think I ran the kind of campaign that I feel like Donald Trump would run, but I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see how this ends up shaking out. Let's 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 see if we can maybe put Ohio back into our column. Where would you concentrate your attention during the final day of the campaign? Well, that's easy. I want to focus on Pennsylvania with maybe a quick stop over the border in Ohio. All right. Now, um, based on some early results, it appears that many polls significantly overestimated Biden's support. This may be close after all. Let's see how exactly this went. Okay. So, I mean, this doesn't feel like the sort of campaign that I think Donald Trump would run. So I've won Kentucky, but his erratic, he enters things in such an erratic way. It's not entirely clear to me that this website sort of gives the best way that someone like Trump would react, because it's like how any other politician would react. But Donald Trump is not like any other politician. He's erratic. he talks off the cuff. Virginia has obviously not gone my way. That was never expected to. But it's not entirely clear to me that you know Donald Trump would run a campaign that's like a traditional politician. And I won Missouri though. Georgia's gone, so that's it. I've lost. So, but I'm. It's not necessarily that every answer that Trump would give, like that's erratic, would necessarily be terrible. Colorado's gone because sometime, and there goes Pennsylvania. That's it. So it's not necessarily bad because sometimes the erratic answer is sometimes the one that the voters could like. So it's not necessarily the case. Yeah, I've lost, but yeah, I mean, just because an answer is erratic doesn't mean it would necessarily be bad. Sometimes you'll say something that like most people think is just common sense, and so for that reason, you know, so for that reason, Donald Trump being erratic is not necessarily going to mean he steps his foot in it. I mean, sometimes stepping your foot in it would mean actually be a good thing because sometimes the people will think you're talking like a real person and not like a politician. I won Texas, interestingly enough. So yeah, the polls really did underestimate Trump's support if he was able to win Texas there, and he also won North Carolina. Trump won Texas and North Carolina, which the polls were not suggesting. So this actually did a good job of basically estimating where things were going to be. He also won Iowa and Ohio. So, I mean, this simulator actually really did a good job of really being able to say, how the polls may have been off in 2020. And this is basically a similar map to the one before, except that I did end up winning Florida. Surprisingly, I won North Carolina. That was something I was not expecting. What was the mark? Oh yeah, this is pretty close. Yeah, Biden won Florida, but this was also pretty close. Georgia, not close at all. See, Arizona. Yeah, this is a pretty decent margin, and this is about as blue as Colorado I think could possibly get. Um, but many of these upper Midwestern states like are I as you know I really didn't try to win this election. I was just trying to show you guys how I think Trump really would run an election like this. Particularly if he's the nominee again, I feel like this is sort of my prediction of how he would run things. Iowa not close at all. And Ohio also not that close. So Trump did better in the Midwest than the polls were suggesting. But I'm curious, but yeah, so Trump did better in Utah than I think the polls were suggesting, and Montana was also better for Trump than the polls were suggesting. So that I guess shouldn't be that big of a surprise. So it's this is honestly a really good simulation of the 2020 election. I don't know. I feel like Trump's answers, I feel like, would be a lot less politician-y, if that makes any sense. It would be more erratic. And so that I'm not sure. Maybe that would be something I would suggest, probably would be the thing that I would hear more from Trump. But overall, this is honestly a believable result, particularly, and I'm despite the fact that I was not trying to win. I'm genuinely surprised that I did this well, that North Carolina somehow went my way. The polls really were off in Ohio and Iowa. So that 415 number real I mean that 413 number really was overly optimistic. So and it really did show how bad the polls were. So I'm glad that they really did factor that in. Despite your most valiant efforts, Joe Biden has been elected to the US presidency. As expected, your supporters are shocked and furious. Sleepy Joe has been elected, and his supporters are thrilled that you are being ousted. Pollsters and Democrats are happy, as the polls were very much accurate this time around. Your base, on the other hand, is livid, decrying every state as being fraudulently involved. You're about to give a press conference on the election results. Make sure you play your cards right. We really all know who really won the election, though, don't we? You no doubt will be on Biden's case from now until the end of his term, plotting your epic comeback. Your base is still ravenous as ever. You might need to throw them a bone, as after all you've said about mail-ins and whatnot. They are angered at your loss. You're about to give a speech in Washington, D.C. near the Capitol buildings. Let them know what you think about this election, and they can peacefully and patriotically give that traitor Mike Pence a lesson. Yes, this is pretty accurate. I way to go. I'm really glad that they developed the simulator this way. And honestly, I want to do more, but I want to get some help. Like I want to get, my friend CA Conservative to be a campaign advisor on some of these campaigns. And so I'd like to do more of these. So hopefully we'll get to see more of them. But until then, um, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to do more of these, this time with some help, and hopefully I'll be able to get that help next time. But thanks for watching.